Yes, hello and welcome along to another edition of the Irish Rally Podcast with me, Kevin Regan. A reminder, the podcast is sponsored by FAC, the simply automatic choice for automation equipment for gates, doors, barriers and rising bollards, available from your security installer and electrician, distributed to the trade in Ireland North and South by National Automation, the one-stop distributor for automation equipment, door entry, intercom systems, CCTV, intruder and fire alarms, access control and locks. And for more information, you can visit nal.ie/products. Okay, so for the weekend that is in it, it was of course supposed to be the Carlow Stages rally this weekend, or would have been in normal circumstances. So based on that, we thought we'd grab a couple of local competitors who enjoyed a bit of success 4 years to the day exactly, and that of course is Mick Coady and David Condell. Gentlemen, you're very welcome on the Irish Rally Podcast. Mick, I know it's not your first appearance, but it is a first for David Condell, but great to have both of you on together. You're both welcome.
Thanks very much, Kevin.
So how's all with you boys? What's been happening? Mick, I know you're busy tipping away at different things behind the scenes, and Davey, what's the crack with you?
Yeah, we're all tipping away, to be fair to it. It's great to be on here. To be fair to you, I've watched the podcast since you've launched it and started, and in fairness, it has great success, and I'm honoured to be on it. Thanks very much. And I suppose along with Mick with the weekend that's in it, sure. Look, it would have been great to be out again, competing in our own local stages as we love doing, to be fair to it, but it wasn't to be and it's not to be. But sure, please God, maybe next year.
All going well. So, Mick, 4 years to the day. I was into Seven Oaks at the time, caught you coming into the ramp. A really special day, it has to be said. Overall winners and the first local duo to win the Mar2 Challenge.
You know, Kevin, you get trophies, you get up trophies up and down the country and whatever, but to be lucky enough to win a rally, but to win your own rally is something very special. Nearly every week I go into the sitting room where I have the two trophies, and I'd actually pick the Mar2 Challenge trophy up and the overall win trophy up. It's still very special. Sometimes I can't believe we actually done it. You know, it was a very special weekend.
Yeah. What's it like 4 years on, Dave? I remember speaking to you at the time. We were doing an interview for the local radio station, and it didn't quite sink in. Has it sunk in 4 years later, or does it ever sink in?
It's gas. Just when Michael worded it that way, we came to the end of the stage, just literally going back to that day down in Clara. I remember outside County Kilkenny, but came to the end of the stage. There was a couple of cars finished and it was ahead of us. I think maybe two or three, Frank Kelly, Endo O'Brien. I think that was it. Then we were third on the road, and I remember talking to Mick, trying to stay calm, knowing that we had driven the stage, started off the stage bad, driven the middle part of the stage and the end of the stage quite well, but just hoping that I conserved enough. But waited for Adrian to come. Adrian came like a bat out of hell, literally, and got out. Mick done his sums real quick. I can still see him, you know. I think we've got it by three. He says, I think we've got it by three. And I was kind of, please don't let this have slipped away. Like it had been the same thing the year before, down at the end of Cran Lane. And I said, just please don't this. And I was staying conservative. And what's Aidan or Andy? Isn't it Andy, the guy from On the Limit? Or
yeah.
On the Limit.
Killian's man.
Killian's man. Andy Walsh. And I was trying to stay conservative, and it wasn't Mick. In fairness to him, when he did the maths were there, he knew he'd done. And I didn't know whether I had enough, you know. But anyway, it did. It took a long time. I remember going in the road with Mick in the car, and like it still hadn't sank in. I said, there's always room for an error or something to glitch or go wrong. So like, don't count me chickens before they're hatched. But lo and behold, yes. And like, I can remember every second of it, even the night that we enjoyed after. Every bit of it. It was so memorable, and like really wanting to do it again. Absolutely, like, for sure. Why not, to be fair? But no, to have done that in a multi-stage, in a 9-stage rally, to win the rally and to lift the trophy, and the fierce competition that we had that weekend as well, like, you know, to have come out on top, that's, as Mick to say, that's dream stuff, to be fair to it.
Yeah, the quickest men in the country were there, Kevin. And I suppose, to be fair to David, the year beforehand, Jonathan Pringle just got him on the last stage, and it was actually a stage that passes by David's own front door. And not alone that year, there had been years before, and you know, no one deserved that trophy more than David Condell. No one deserved it more.
Thanks.
And on so many occasions, it just slipped away from Kevin, and we both decided that weekend that come hell or high water, there was enough stories, there was enough excuses, if you like, for want of a better word. We were just going to get into the car, and do it. We knew we had the machinery. We knew the car was on the right tire. It was up to me and David then, and we went for it. And it was just to do it the way we done it. It was just, it was brilliant, absolutely
magical.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Kevin, as well, I remember chatting to yourself, like, I mean, until that champagne was sprayed and until, it was official that the trophy was left on the bonnet of the car.
Yeah.
I remember, if I'm not mistaken, talking about, like, it was like Carlow winning All Ireland. You know what I mean? It was really, really, really something special. So for me, yes, I have to say and it still is a very, very, very memorable occasion. And as I'm saying, fingers crossed we'll get to do it again sometime. Like,
Please God.
The following year, we were number 1 on the road, and it was a mini stage. And like, I remember that. Do you remember the morning, Mick? We were talking about the tire we're putting on, and we put on the right tire. But the problem was, from service out to the start of the stage, we didn't have enough kind of road mileage to get the tire ready for the stage. And it started raining, and it was a fast, slippy stage. So we just couldn't get into the groove at all, and got fairly well obliterated on the first stage.
We probably could have done with a softer tire, David, on the front of the car, really, couldn't we? When the rain came, it was sort of very, even though it was dry in the stage, it was very, very slippy. The tire was a little bit hard in the front of the car.
Unbelievably slippy. But then it was the right tire for the next stage.
It was the tire for the next stage. Yeah.
I remember after what happened when we were chatting, coming down to where we went off, like, the car was the very same as the thing on rails. There was a big, long, real fast section, a kind of a tree left that continued for 200 meters or more. And the car, like, okay, if it went wrong, it was going to be a major wrong. But, like, the car, everything was just working right until we
definitely had the right tire on for that. Hairpin right, yeah. We had the right tire, definitely, David, for that stage.
Yeah, everything was working right, but, like, it's gas. A small little screw off the bottom of the door card broke off and decided to make its way in under the throttle pedal. And it's a floor-mounted pedal box, so when you press the pedal forward, it kind of, the back of it opens up to, which is, it's not in it anymore. That pedal box is not in the car anymore. But, like, the little screw in, the head of the screw in, and obviously when I took my foot off the throttle, the throttle was jammed right open. So down along straight into a chicane, and I said to Mick, the throttle was wound out to the last. So all I could do was reach over and press the kill switch, which is the knocked out the whole car. So I had no power steering, and obviously entering a chicane at 100 mile an hour or 130 mile an hour.
There's a lot more. We came to that hairpin, David. We came to that hairpin you talk about, Kevin, and it was onto a wider road, and it was maybe I don't know, a kilometre maybe, Kevin, before the chicane. And we had on the notes, there was a white line in the middle of that road, and the car was in top gear. He had got all the way up to 6th gear. The green 6 had turned red and was flashing at us. And we came to the tree board. I'd never forget, it was the right-hand entered 4-bale chicane. And David said to me, it won't stop. And I can promise you, at 135 or 6 mile an hour, it wasn't a nice place to be sitting. And I can still see David's hand. He put the big hand over in front of me, and he turned off, he hit the kill switch. But luckily enough, I suppose he got out with the first bale, and we struck the second bale, a fair clatter, and it was a frightening place to be fair, Henry, wasn't it?
It was, no, in fairness though, but, like,
frightening place to be.
That was it, like the way a lot of things goes, what's for you not go by you, that event wasn't for us, and it didn't happen, and so on and so forth. So, like, I mean, we licked our wounds and got mended and way again, in fairness to it, but
that's it, yeah.
That's the way it goes. But, like, the Carlow Stages Rally, the one thing I have to say about it, I know, looking out the window here now today, it's a wet day, so obviously if it was running, it would have been a wet day. But traditionally in May, it's normally good weather. So to be fair to it, it's always a good rally. Do you know what I mean? There's great commitment, there's great challenges, there's always, there's great stages, so it is a brilliant rally, to be fair to it.
It is, and like, when you go down through, Mick, I've spoken to you about this, the names that have won that rally down through the years, household names in Irish rallying, like, and to be classed in the same breath as them, like, I mean, Bertie Fisher's under Roll of Honour, our own man Stevie Murphy's under Roll of Honour. That's just two off the top of my head who have competed at the elite level, and you guys are actually on the Roll of Honour with them. That's pretty special, like, in fairness.
And now Manus got to be good to Manus
Kelly,
Manus
16.
Kelly, yeah. Manus 116, and to have Manus and Donald, two gentlemen, got to be good to Manus is not with us. But yeah, it was to read that crowd winning opinion for that Mark II challenge is the biggest prize in modified rallying in this country. It brings the quickest men from Ireland, England, Scotland and Wales. Any man with a 2.5 car, that's the trophy he wants. And when you win it once, they all want to win it a second time. If I never won another trophy, that was the one to win. It's as simple as that. That crown wheel thing was just brilliant to see it on David's. David had it in his sitting room. He had it in his trophy cabinet in the sitting room, and we used to go up and we'd sit in the sitting room. We'd just look at it, and we'd go over, and we'd catch it, we'd pass it to one another, and it was special to have it there because it means so much to the pair of us being Carlow clubmen, Kevin. You know.
Yeah, but on that day, lads, Davey, because you came so close so often. And as the years go on, and you'd often hear it with different lads around different events around the country, like Johnny Kelly up in Donegal, for example, would say that maybe he puts a bit of pressure on himself on the local event. How did you go about channeling that correctly in 2017? Because you both said, right, we're going to go and do this, but I'm sure you said the same thing in the years previous to that as well. So was it the case of tapering it down a bit, and how did you find the actual right balance to go and win it after so many years of coming so close? You eventually found the right formula. So what was it like?
Jesus, that is an absolutely savage question to ask, in fairness, and well done. Yeah. To be fair, you're 100% right. At the beginning of that year, 2017, Mick had said to me, he says, we'd put a plan together for a few bits of rallies and whatever else we were going to do. And he said,
the gravel championship. We done the gravel championship.
Yeah, but we said we'd go do Carlow as well. And
I wanted Carlow.
It was talking about from after Christmas.
Yeah.
And we made a plan, and I suppose I got the frame of mind in my head to see, who I wonder, it was going to be a multi-stage rally, so who's going to come? You know what I mean? It's gas. You'd be thinking of talking about something like Christmas or January and saying, sure, it's 5 months away. Who's going to know what's going to happen, or who's going to be around, or whatever the case may be. But started sort of getting it into my head, and then maybe April or after, which would be a month before the rally, myself and Mick kind of knuckled down and tried to get ourselves psychologically ready and physically ready a little bit too, to be fair to it, and it all paid dividend in the end. But then, to be fair as well, Mick, we brought George Condell, my own brother, and George Crozier, who runs the car, Thomas Lakes, all those men were on board. And to be fair to as Mick has said many, many times, it's not just the driver and the navigator, it's the people that's around you contributing their time, their efforts and all the rest into it. And I only spoke to George this week about it. We were talking about 2017, the win of the rally. And normally when I go, I have a shed outside, and I'd have a couple of 100 tires. I won't say how many, but there's tires in there that might have done 2 stages, and I take them off because they're either too soft or too hard or whatever, and they're not worn out. But anyway, George has said to me, only during the week, he says, do you realize that you only use 6 tires in a 9-stage rally? And I was like, that's all. And he says, yeah. He says, you were nice and calm and cool and no ripping and tearing. And it's, I'm not saying every rally you have to prepare yourself 5 months before, but that's what we actually done. It was straight up. If we logically look at it, there was a mental thought put into it to drive calculated, and by God, there was men in front of us who are so calculated, it's unbelievable. So we had to be equally as calculated, and we were a paid dividend, and then stay calculated for the day. Not just go, oh, we have it here now in the bag. In Adrian Hedrington, we were swapping only 1.8 of a second, and 1 second was the best we could swap all day up along until the last service. And we put on four brand new tires. And I remember George gave me a clap on the shoulder. He says, "Now we have the right stuff on." He says, "Go for it." Yeah. And we went out up to Connahy, wasn't it, Mick? Isn't it? Wasn't the stage up in Connahy up there?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I remember going in on the start line and damn near made a mistake down into the first square right. We came over
the start of that stage, it was delayed a bit. And the next thing it got going, Kevin, and I left into the car, and the main thing sticks in my mind with David that day was how cool and calm he was. I got into the car, if you remember, David, and he caught me by the knee. He said, "Relax, Mick, I'll take another minute here. If you're not ready to go," he says, "relax, I'll take another minute here." But I got gathered up. It just, the stage got off of me so quick. I suppose I was mouthing somewhere, don't you know, Kevin? But that day for me, David was so cool and calm. And he was in such a frame of mind that it was for him and it wasn't going to go by him. And he's dead right. I mean, That was the stage you won it on, David. You won the rally on that stage, to be fair to you.
Well, sure. If you remember Killian's interview with Adrian, we came out with the secondary school in Comer, up at the top, top of Comer, and it had been said that we were 7 point something seconds up halfway or into the middle of the stage. Someone was giving a split time, and when we came out, we called out our time, and it was like, that's a good time. And then Adrian was directly after us, and Adrian came out then, and he gave his time, and Killian said, well, the lads have done whatever it was. I should know the numbers, but I don't. But Adrian just went, fuck. He says, it's there's that much time. He knew it was like 0.8, 1 second back, 0.8, 2 seconds. It was only literally chopping and changing all day.
I think, David, we took 12 of them, I think. I think we had 12 or 15 of them, didn't we? We took a considerable chunk of them
at that stage. Is the exact number, but it was good. Like that, It was good. And if you remember, Mick, we went into the next one, which was Muckalee, I think, and
the Metal Bridge up there.
Yeah, the Metal Bridge. And Adrian, we set the exact same time again. So I remember talking to Killian on the start line of the last stage.
Stage 9.
And he said, no, you have 10 seconds in hand, lads. But as I said, a spin, a puncture, an overshoot, anything at all was going to take that away from us, and Adrian would have had it. But if you do remember, when we started on the start line of that stage, it was a big long section to hold it down to a square left. And I came down, you think I was going to mass. I came down to the square left, and I just sauntered down the road and turned into the square left. The next thing, Mick kind of, come on now, Condell, pick it up a bit here. He said, I was like, Jesus, we're in the rally. That's not one yet. Gathered it up, and even for about 3 or 4 miles after that, wasn't driving at 10 tenths. Adrian, George and all the lads were standing on that long section, remember, Mick, at the chicanes, and Adrian came at 12 tenths. I'm not saying he came, if it had wings, it was going to fly. And we came down through it hard enough. But then I remember when we got into Castle Warren, Mick. I remember you
up the hill.
You've often reverted back to it. It was there was a piece of road in there, and you often said it. You'd ask a car to do something, and you'd say that's over asking it. Well, we over asked that car that day, and
we did indeed.
IGN, true to his word, high speed stuff and stuck to the road. And I don't care what anyone says. No one else would have come down to that piece of the road or stage.
A long left-hander, Kevin. It's a left-hander that continued for 400 meters, and very narrow section of road, and it was we had it as a flat left, but I suppose it was a 2 left, David, when you think of it really. And you ask, you're dependent so much on the sidewalk and it's higher, Kevin, at 136 or 7 miles an hour. There was a chicane after that corner. The corner straight into 100 yards, 150 yards into a chicane. And I remember sitting in the car saying, gee, don't let go, Gary, don't let go. Hold on first, Pat, hold on first. It was just such a long corner, Kevin, and it was so narrow. If anything had to happen, it was, we were gone onto the scenery. And I remember looking at the chicane, she straightened up, and I just said, good girl, today's our day, we're not going to let you down, you didn't let us down. And that's the way it was,
Yeah.
Right, David?
Well, it's 100% right. And I remember the rest of the stage on how long it was real tricky and tight, and we just stayed nice and clean and tidy and fast. And I remember the very
stage that Jonathan Pringle would happen. That's the stage. Jonathan Pringle
after that piece of the stage you just mentioned, about a kilometre in, then Jonathan went off in the first loop of stage. I remember after where Jonathan went off, we came down to a square right, and I kind of slid the car a bit wide, and Mick was tidied up now, you know what I mean, and drove on out to the end of the stage. And as I said, that's when I got into the mode of, I wonder, have I thrown it away? I wonder, have I done enough? Was I asleep at the beginning of the stage? Of course I was. For whatever reason, I got nearly too relaxed. And then, but luckily enough, thank God, we got to get out of the stage with 3.5 or 3 point something seconds to win the rally. I think the year that you were second with Damien, was it 0.7 of a second divided yourself on? He's gone.
Mick is after going. We'll get him to jump back in here now in a second. He has the link. I'll just type a message here actually. Bear with us 1 sec. And we'll see, can we get him back in here straight away? For whatever reason, he had to jump back off. He's back with us here now. Mick, you're back.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. 0.7 of a fucking second we lost the rally by,
You had an overshoot there, Mick, did you? You came back to us.
I don't know. Something went wrong and we opened the screen. Yeah. The typical of my life. But it was young Ryan Lochran, 0.7 of a second. And we actually spun on the first stage that day, and we had a fuel rail issue in the car, and it would have been lovely to win it a second time, but it wasn't to be. We and Damien, fairness to Damien, we tried hard, but that day it wasn't to be.
That was very, very close. I was actually there that day as well. And I could see it in your face. You were just like, you were gutted, like you were absolutely gutted.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the video that Killian had up at the time. I don't know if it was Killian or Andy at the end of the stage, like, and it was so close, like it was so close.
It was, and Garrett Doherty, who sits with Ryan Loughran, lovely fella, but Garrett came to me and I couldn't work out the 0.7, whether it was my favour or his favour, and Garrett couldn't work it out either. So it took a few minutes. We knew there was 0.7, but we didn't know which way it was. Yeah. You know, and actually Ryan Loughran was stood beside his car, and he thought he had thrown it away, but no. In fairness to two, they held on, but by Jesus, we were close. 0.7.
Yeah, it was very, very close. And I think so. Yeah, and then Jack Newman was third. Isn't that right?
That's right, yeah. Newman was third. Yeah.
Far as I can remember,
we were fourth or fifth, I think. I was we were all doing. That was the 19, Mick, wasn't it? We were all doing the championship that year, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I got into my head, like, you know, do the local event, but like, don't go out to the wire to try and do the devil and all, and like conserve it for the championship. But sure, look, you know what I mean. That's me trying to be calculated, but it didn't work out. So look, but
so here's time to go on, yeah.
You were the new man in that day too, Henry. Paul wasn't in with you that day.
Ray wouldn't be
good man.
He would have sat with Ray would have sat with me before, and like, yeah. I suppose to be bedding in and whatever else. But look, just I
think you had a wrong tire for the middle loop, David. You had a wrong tire on too, hadn't you? You had a wrong tire on one stage that day as well, hadn't you?
I was trying different things in fairness. So look, you know, using it as an experiment. To be fair,
yeah.
So can I just ask, because I think in 2019, Mick, you won the modified championship with Damien Toner, and Dave, you were second.
That's dirty,
right? which brings me to it without the intention of stirring it up. But how did you end up with Toner for the year, and how did Coady not end up with Davey? Or what happens here now? Is there a kind of a bidding war at the start of the year, or what's the story? Was the going rate was he too expensive, Davey, or what was the crack?
The Guinness got too dear.
No, how does that work on a serious note? Did you take it rally by rally? Was there a conscious decision to go with Damien for the full year, Mick, or how did it work out?
It was very, very simple, really. My phone rang back in January 2019. A friend of mine, Denver Rafferty is the guy's name, who normally sits with Damien Toner, and he had done a deal with Stephen McCann in the R5 car to do the championship with, and Damien was looking for a man to go to Galway. And I hadn't really intended on doing the championship, to be fair, but I got to meet Damien several times before, I suppose, through David. But we went to Galway. Rally cars and things. We went to Galway, and you didn't actually decide, David, till after, really, I suppose, to do the rally. It was after maybe. We didn't speak about Galway the championship at all together, did we, David? As such, like there was no.
No, there was a bit of humming and hawing because. You know, I looked at. I done 2 championships that year. I done the gravel championship and the tarmac. But like I had said, we'll do the gravel championship for sure. But the tarmac was an after. Well, it wasn't an afterthought because something like that is not an afterthought. But I said I'd go to Galway, see how things go. I looked at the calendar with things that was going to go on and so forth through the year, and we said, sure, look, we'll go to Galway and see how it goes. And we saw how it went.
Yeah, no, that was it, and me and Damien got on very well together, and he's a lovely guy and a great driver, and we got on well in Galway. We finished second overall in the national, and West Cork was up next, and that's traditionally a rally I do with Frank Kelly every year. So Damien said to me, "Look at you, we'll continue with the championship," and I said, "Look, I give Frank my word, and if I give a man a word, I won't go back on it." Like so, you know, so it was probably he had young Jonathan McGrath. From Wexford in with him, and they finished, I think, second overall. Me and Frank, we were up to second or third overall behind Hervin and young Kiernan, but we made a bit of a mess Sunday morning on the first one.
Surely did.
You knew where this was going, Dave. You were smoking before he even went there.
Well, he passed the wreckage. It was like an airplane crash, but in fairness to Frank Kelly and me, we have a habit of doing silly things like that together.
Oh, you and me too, Mick. Believe you and me.
we have. That's it. That's the way it was. And I suppose for me, leading the championship, and me and David being so friendly, we live so close to each other, and we have kids in and around the one age and all them sort of things. It was a concern because, not a concern, but you'd always David and Paul would always be in your head. That they got through the stage, or that they were. Do you know what I mean, Kevin? Even though he'd be sitting in another man and fighting with another man, he'd always be in the back of your mind. Do you know what I mean? Like.
Mm-hmm. So as the year progressed, then I think it came down to the last event. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Or had you wrapped up beforehand?
No. Damien had it wrapped up in the circuit, was it? Or remember Ulster?
No, you had. If we happened to finish, David, and you won, you still had a chance of winning that championship. Isn't that right?
Well, it ended up in on the Cork 20.
Yeah.
And Damien had it. Once Damien arrived at the event, he had it wrapped up. That's what it is. When Damien drove across once Damien arrived at the event, he had it wrapped up. So that was grand.
But not for me.
Unless I think it's anyway. I'm not. I just can't remember. But I remember it came down to the navigators. It was yourself or Paul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Paul had went to Killarney. The boys had went to Killarney, and we didn't go to Killarney. And the boys got a great finish below in Killarney. And Paul, I think, was 10 or 15 points in front of me going into the Cork 20. So Damien probably had enough done as long as he kept in front of David to win the championship. But for me to win the championship alongside Damien, we had to win the rally, win the national section of the rally. So in fairness to Damien,
that's what it was. Yeah.
There's great loyalty there among. Do you know what I mean? I know you said Damien had to go across. If it was the case that he had to go across the start line, fair enough, he had to be there anyway. But if you hadn't, the fact that you were going, like you said about Paul having a chance as well, Davey, like it was nice to consider the fact that your navigator could win it, and you'll go do it on that basis, not just a purely selfish point of view that just because I won't win it, I won't do it for my navigator. Like, do you know, that's fair play as well, because I'm sure there's lads out there that mightn't do that. Like,
yeah, oh yeah, there is, and as Mick says, like, you know what I mean, there's two men in there fighting in the car, and like what he says goes, if you know what I mean. When the note is called, that's what's coming. Okay, I'm the one pressing the pedals and turning the steering wheel, but
hopefully,
like, there's a relationship in there that both people have to be on when it works, when it's on song, and when it's right. There's not, it's right, but obviously it doesn't always work that way. There's there can be off days or whatever. Either the driver can be off or the navigator can be off or whatever. But anyway, there's a massive respect and loyalty in there, to be fair to it. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I suppose that's the way it has to be. Go on, Mick. Yeah.
I had a bad Cork 20. David was beaten as well Saturday. I think David is 13 or the boards of 15 seconds in the lead Sunday morning. Isn't that right, David? And we followed him out.
Yeah, and then, yeah. We went to Ballymorny then to go on.
Mulliganish, that long stage. And look at it, it's exactly what David said. I mean, a hurler can have a bad day, a footballer can have a bad day, a rally man or a core driver can have a bad day too. And the Saturday below the Cork 20, I struggled all day long, and Damien Turner would be the first man to tell you that. It just didn't, I don't know, I suppose Manus could have been the back of my mind and all these things, but thankfully I got it together Sunday and we done the business, so it was a tough rally for me, but I was delighted to win it in the end,
Yeah, you got it, and that's the sign of the partnership. Damien could probably see it in you and was obviously able to talk to you or whatever, and then you kind of settled or whatever, and then it paid off. So that's where the partnership comes into play, obviously.
He said to me on the first one Sunday morning, we were out there in the stage, and he turned to me and says, "Where the fuck were you yesterday?" He says to me. I was right there in person. I was like, "Where were you yesterday?" That's it. That's the way it is. And drivers, David will agree with me here. Drivers can have an off day too, can't they, David? Like, it doesn't happen
without a shadow of it. Like you often seen in the past, and I see it now. As I was a youngster, and you'd be watching an event going, and Bertie Fisher would be number one on the road, and next thing you go to the event and Bertie Fisher wouldn't be there, and you go, Jesus, did something happen? Or no, work commitments. And you'd be going, oh, Jesus, like, how can it be that busy that work commitments is after keeping him away from going and doing a rally. But I see now, and like, you can go to an event, and I'll be dead straight with you. I've often been driving down a long straight, and my mind has been in a quarry somewhere instead of, which is not right. You know what I mean? It's the next thing suddenly you go, oh, well, we're here doing an event. I better get back here to this. Is everything going okay back at home? But anyway, you're better off doing what they do. And I don't know, but Stephen Murphy would have as well in the past. He would have, excluded himself from a rally because of work commitments. There's a man in America originally. He's from Monaghan, Barry McKenna. he's gone so busy there at the moment, and he with, I don't know, but he could be the only man. Well, no, he's not the only man, but he's a privately owned WRC Fiesta, and like he's just gone so busy at the moment. He can't be half and half. You can't be half in work and half at rallying. It's all or nothing. You know what I mean? So it's all in work or it's all in rallying at the time. So I respect that completely of people, and that's why I'm saying, and I know after really elaborating on it, when you're doing an event and your mind is not in it, well, it can be drawn, or as Mick has said there, and he's brought up the point a few times, poor old Manus Kelly, like, you know, myself and Mick landed in on that accident that day up there, and like, sure, it's something that's going to be with us for the rest of our lives, whether we like it or not. So there's always that element of, you know, of that. So like, I'd leave it at that, to be fair to it.
Yeah. Top guy as well, Mick. And I know you pay a tribute to Manus with us on the podcast last year. David, you know him first, well, as you know, obviously too, along with Mick. Top guy, like.
I did. Manus was like, I would actually go as far as to say he still was a modified driver. You know what I mean? Odd went fierce well, and started out, I think, in twin cams and then got into the Mark IIs. And, you know, he was, if Manus Kelly turned up in Donald Barrett, like, you know, you're going, well, class 14, or, you know, this is the man to try and get up against and beat. And yes, Manus was the same age as ourselves, and a man that you could talk to, no problem at all. There was no airs or graces. A total gentleman. A gentleman. And if you even look back on some of his interviews with Killian, so kind spoken, you know, just a proper competitor, in fairness to him. And he loved the sport the same as us all. And all you could do is, you know, give him the best of luck. You know what I mean? No matter where, you'd always shake. Anytime you'd be when near to him, you'd shake his hand and say the best of luck today, or whatever the case may be. That was, you know, and he'd shake it back, no problem at all, in fairness to him.
But you always seem to have so much time as well, because like I remember being down in West Cork in 2019 and sighting the Shebeen. Great spot, actually. Is it or Shagone, not the Shebeen. Sorry, you said there's a few Shebeens going too.
You must have a Shebeen
on the QD. No, I tell you now, jeez, if we could make up a bit of a yoke here now, we'd be right all together. We have a few more things to get through. We have a garden to sort out and have wood yokes in this place here before we even think about the Shebeen. There's a garden table that has to be put together for the last 3 months, and I'd say we make it that sorted before you think about any sort of beer tap. But what I was going to say was, down in the Shagone on the Saturday, if you remember, Manus had a bit of an off or whatever, and I caught a few competitors on the same bend, actually. I think Killian could have been live at the time, but he came in that night, and this is the thing that struck me, like, still smiling, do you know what I mean? And had so much time for everyone. Like, that was only my second time meeting him, but he talked away to you, like, and for a guy of that stature who had won so much, the fact that he was so down to earth as well, that's the one thing that struck me. And even meeting him for the first time, I think it was Donegal in 2017. Like, I just couldn't believe it. Here's the guy after winning the last year and just so humble, so down to earth, like, you know. That's the one thing that struck me about him. And you know him 100 times better than I did, but the couple of dealings I had were just, you know, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was in awe of the man, really, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely on the ball. Like, a total, you know, nothing upset. Like, you know, I won't say nothing upsetting, but, like, you know, a total just down to earth gentleman. Like, you know, got caught on the day, and that was it. But
he was a great ambassador for the sport, and he's co-driver. Yeah. I remember Kevin, whenever I started maybe going harder or getting on a little bit, you turn up. I had events in the 2.5 car, and Donald was a massive help to me. He was Donald Barrett, a lovely fella. Anything he could do for you, even though you could have been competing against him, he'd help you to the best of it. He was a lovely fella. Manus the same, you know. I remember up in the Circuit of Ireland in 19. Manus had been pulling in behind myself and Damien, and with a left-hand drive car to pull back out on the road before the stage, to put on their helmets or whatever, to go to the time control to start the stage. I was directing him out, like, and he actually sent me a message that night. He said, "Mick, thanks for your help getting out on the road all day long. I have the message still. It's a very dear message to me now. You never forgot your modified rival." You know, he took the time it was a simple thing, just to stop a car and let him out on the road, but he still thought of that the next day and sent me a message. It's a small thing, but to me it shows the caliber of the man he was. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Means a lot. And like, just to summarise and to finish up on it as well, the fact that she actually won the Carlow stages the year after him too, that's a nice little thing too. Like that, you know, he won the year before you.
That's right. That's right. I remember standing inside with him in the Seven Oaks at the back of the hotel, and he was chatting away. And again, he was so calm and collected, standing there. He had asked me, I remember standing there, he had got a bit of a piece of road to test on, and he just wasn't sure of the area. And I remember him, he kind of recapped it, just that he was thanking the guy that organised it for him, and he was thanking for using that piece of road, that he'd be able to familiarise that, he was able to hit the nail on the head. And up he went, and lo and behold, just, he got bang on, in fairness to him. But a kind of so silent, but yet so talented. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good fun 100%. To be around. He was good fun to be around.
And someone actually, just last point on it, a lovely lorry has been done up. I don't know if did you see that on Facebook there today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Savage tribute.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Really well done to the people that don't know, in fairness to him. Yeah,
top man. He'll always be in our thoughts here at the Irish Rally Podcast, and you can tell you that for certain.
Fair play.
In respect to, this year then, lads, in the here and now, where are we actually thinking along the lines of this year? Because it looks like it's going to be difficult for a lot of lads to try and get some sort of competition, if there is any competition, to go ahead. Mick, you did post something on Facebook during the week about rumblings of maybe going across the water. David, I've heard rumours about yourself too. Whichever one of you wants to take it up first, belt away. Are you going across the water to compete?
I leave that to you, Condell, now.
I hope so. When I bought my gravel car first, I bought it off of Brian Lawler, and I distinctly remember Brian talking about it. He says, if you ever get to go do an event, go do the RAC in England. He says it's an absolute top class event. Loads of mileage, loads of rally. And I kind of went, all right, yeah, sure. Keep it in mind. And maybe a year or two passed, and then I'd heard about the RAC and looked it up and whatever else. And it's mostly based around historic. If you have a historic car, that's the type of rally. It's the Roger Albert Clark rally. So obviously it's running in 2021. So it ran in 19, wouldn't that be right? Yeah, it ran in 19,
yeah.
And that it was outside of the budget, for argument's sake, with all the rallying that had been done that year. So this year we've decided to go do it. But sure, of course, every man and woman that has a car ready to go do it, have them spit and polished, ready to go. So I think within an hour and 45 minutes, there was 200 entries in, and luckily enough, ours was one of them. So we're hoping. Even though the entry that's on Facebook says that we're 42 in reserve, our actual number is 163. So we're like 13 in reserve. So hopefully we'll get in. And if we get in, we'll go do the event with a heart and a half. Pending that it runs. It obviously looks like with the way the vaccines is being rolled out and everything, that things are starting to sort of get back to normal. So that's one that we have earmarked to go do, in fairness, and fingers crossed it will happen. And sure, I'd love to think that we get to do some bit of shakedown here, in the next couple of months, if things ease up, or the restrictions come off a bit, that maybe we might, even if we got to get out to do a couple of forest events or something, you know what I mean? I know tarmac rallying, there's an awful lot.
Maybe shake down that new car, Henry.
Yeah, well, sure, the steering wheel is in the wrong side of it, Mick.
Which is, David? What is this new car?
It's a Polo. Look, it's an S2000, but Mick and myself, we done a bit of testing with it in Sweet Lamb, and it's a very, very good car. I'm very, very happy with it. It just shows. I believe the S2000 cars were built off of the World cars. So what they done was they normally aspirated the engines, but left all the WRC components in them to try and make rallying cheaper or more affordable. And by Jenny, that car, it is some car. It is some car to handle. Between braking and over a jump or corner or anything like that. It's serious car, in fairness to it. So yeah, I bought the car at the beginning of last year to go do some Scottish and English events, to get climatized to the gravel roads over there. But obviously it didn't happen. So the car is home now, and just we're getting some work done with it to try and just sweeten it up a bit more even, and all going well. Whenever it's finished, we'll be doing a bit of testing again. So it should. No, I'm really looking forward to it now. To be fair, really looking forward to it.
Will you convert it, or is it converted already?
to
right-hand drive, like.
No. I leave it left. No. I actually really like left-hand drive cars. I would have had an ST185 Celica left-hand drive car, and I like that car a lot. And no, I like, believe it or not, my explanation for liking left-hand drive. If you get into a machine, an excavator, the cab is on the left-hand side of it. So all your components or all your working parts are out to the right. You get into a dump truck, an A40, all your controls are to your right-hand side. So you're kind of, even though you're sitting in the middle of the truck, everything happens on your right-hand side, or a wheel load or anything at all like that. All your operations are on your right-hand side. So for me to sit into a left-hand drive car, it's not completely alien. You know what I mean? And okay, I remember
it is for me.
Done the lake dance in the World Car. Remember we done it in the Focus, Mick.
That's right, yeah.
And I remember going out to the first stage, and I was tipping on pretty strong because I wanted to get used to the paddle shift and stuff like that. And
pretty strong is the word, yeah.
Mick was sitting on the right-hand side, and Mick was on the middle of the road. I was in rubbing the hedge on the left, and Mick was there like, whoa, we can slow down. You could see around the bend, but I couldn't.
Yeah. But it's amazing, Kevin. Sorry, David. We went up that year. He hired a WRC Focus, and it was a left hooker as well. And I couldn't believe, Kevin, how comfortable David was in the car instantly. We were up to third overall in that rally with massive names above the Lakeland. After the first loop of stages, we were up to third overall. I couldn't believe how quick he learned how to launch control in the car. David is very good at left foot braking anyway. Just so comfortable in a left-hand drive car. But every now and then, I'd look up over this dash, on the complete wrong side of the road, sitting on the wrong side of the car. He took to it a lot better than I took to it. but no, we went to test in Sweet Lamb and into the car. Once again, Dommy Buckley had the car there, and the car looked $1 million. And Sweet Lamb is one of the most famous stages in Rally GB. If people mind the water splash cup back in 2006, Mickey Herman came out over and put the car on his roof. If you remember that, Kevin, do you remember that stage?
It's going back a while now.
Yeah, Latfella was off on that stage as well, and Gronholm pulled the wheel off a car on that stage as well. We got a day's testing in that VW Polo on that stage, and Jeannie Mack of everything I'm lucky enough, thanks for the God, to do. That was to write notes for myself and David to go write a set of notes for that stage, and he just, once again, like the WRC car, like the World Car, he just instantly got to grips with the Polo straight away. Sat in the car and could work the car and slide the car and move the car. And Jeannie Mack, the car is immaculate over jumps, and the way the car breaks up and steers and handles compared to a rear-wheel drive Escort. The front wheels is sort of, the back wheels doing all the driving, and like this car is pulling itself along, pulling itself through corners, amazing over jumps, splashes, everything. It's just, I can't wait for the car to compete in the car, if that makes sense, Kevin. Really, really good car. Lovely car.
I was interested there, Davey, when you were saying, it's like being in an excavator, but that joke don't do 120 or 140. That's the only thing. But you're after driving the left hooker already, as Mick has said, so it won't be a huge problem. So, is the plan to bring that over for a few events? You said with the RSC there's a limited kind of a thing, or
I have it back. I have it here. And all, Kevin. And as I said, I'm just getting a bit of work done on it, just to sweeten it a bit more, and obviously when we have time to do it, I might as well get it done. And my intention is probably to do an event or two here in it, or a couple of events. But yeah, I'd like to compete across the water as well. To be fair, I had intended on doing this in 2020 if things hadn't have gone the way they went. But
yeah,
it has, unfortunately. But I will go back. I will go across and do events again, please God, in either England or Scotland, and get climatized with that part of the world over there as well.
So, did one of the phone calls come off David, Mick, or what's the story?
It did, yeah. In fairness to David, he's I'm not going to the RAC with David Paul. He's other man. This man does so much rallying. He's 2 men on the go, but no, unfortunately, it would be a dream of mine to do it as well. But with this pub and all, please God, Kevin, it's too long away from home when I would get our pub up and running, and yourself, and you open the doors in the place and sort of make sure everything is going according to plan. My heart wouldn't be in it knowing that leaving the net at home with the pub open and so early on, Kevin. If it was next year, it'll be different. But no, I'm not going to the RAC with David. But I have a sticker here in the house. I'm going up to put it on the side of that VW Polo. There's no one else get into it. Paul, you're not having that one.
we may get you an Irish Rally podcast sticker as well to Tron it, Dave.
Oh yeah, no bother, 100%.
Mick, just on the the whole thing with the pub. Best luck with it. What's it called and where's it going to be based? Just for our listeners and viewers.
So it's the Corner House on the square in Castlecomer, Kevin. I tried the pub went for sale. It's my local. I won't say I was reared in it, but I was reared in it. It's where we always went. I tried to buy it. I tried to remortgage the house here, and the bank were having none of it. They didn't have no interest in it. So another man bought the pub, and I got talking to his brother-in-law, and I have secured a 2-year lease on it on the square in Comer. So that's where we are, Kevin. That's where we're at, as the lad says.
You just don't get caught now with too much drinking in the stock yourself. You keep a few from yourself and Dave, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it.
A lot of people are saying that to me, all right, but look at, I'm sure the Queen here will keep a stern eye on me, I'm no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, listen, the very best luck at it. That's great. That,
thanks, Kevin.
And
thanks,
it looks
Kevin.
like we're getting fairly close to getting up and going.
Yeah, I got good news. That's Thursday evening there. If the numbers can stay under 450 or 500 and the vaccine rollout continues the way they are, we're hoping to get going there the end of July. So that'll be maybe 4 or 5 weeks after the outdoor dining. So please God, this vaccine rollout continues and we get back to some sort of normality, because people, whatever about the pub, people are just tired of it. People are sick of this COVID at the moment. Just everyone is fed up with it.
Yeah. Do we realistically see an event going this year, lads, in Ireland? Will it happen, do you think? David, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, well, Mondello, I had an entry put in like a track day or something like that last December, and Mondello emailed me there just during the week and said that they have some events starting on the 16th of this month and on the 30th of this month, but they're not timed. So I asked them when was the first timed events going to be coming about, because don't get me wrong, going up to Mondello just for at Christmas, I don't mind. I bring my 2 cars mostly up to Mondello at Christmas, just to bring people for a spin. Thank them very much for standing on the hedge or marching or doing whatever, and bring them for a spin. But I'd rather go up and kind of drive against the clock to just get the edge back again. So I'm actually hiring Ryan. I have hired Ryan Loughran's Mark II R5 for 2 quarries that was done, which was one was Mayo quarry, and the other one was Cam up in the north in Tyrone. But I'm hiring the car off of Ryan again for one tarmac setup for the event. I think it's the 30th of June, so that'll be a timed event. So fingers crossed, that'll kind of be the start of it getting going again. It's not that far away. It's only 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it is away. But that I feel that's the start of it. And hopefully it'll stay proceeding on. You hear gremlins going on in the background that there's different clubs have different events organised. They've everything done. It's just a matter of a date being secured and going and doing an event. So I'd like to think that would start following suit after that. And if it is, then again I'd say the minute that the entry opens, it'll just fill immediately. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be so many people eagerly awaiting to get out and get going. To be fair to it, it's unbelievable.
Mick, where does the cost balance up in terms of if you are going to go over seas, like in relation to the proposed entry fees here?
It's not that bad. John Lynch, young Marty Toner, there's a rally in Argyll in Scotland. The motor club that organised the Tour of Mull, it's out in Argyll in Scotland. They're running an event. It's a 2-day sealed surface tarmac rally, the 26th and 7th of June. And young Toner wants to go do the rally, and John Lynch talked about going doing the rally, and we just looked into it. The cost, the ferries aren't that dear. I mean, I think the entry fee is £630 sterling for 2 days rallying. I think the ferry is somewhere in the region of $450 for 2 men, a car, and the trailer. It's not over. Like with the cost of accommodation, Kevin, in this country, and Motorsport Ireland, to be honest, have lost the grip of reality, in my opinion. I mean, when an entry fee is no longer relevant to a man's week's wages, it's then out of touch for an awful lot of people. So That's where I am with it. You'd be pleasantly surprised, Kevin, when you sit down and do the figures with the cost of accommodation in this country as well. You can get somewhere to stay in England for a hell of a lot cheaper. The food is cheaper. Everything. The sterling is very strong. It's very feasible to do, Kevin, and Belgium as well. Belgium has lovely rallies over. It's very feasible for Irish men to go do. After all, Kevin, the English, the Welsh, and the Scots have been coming to us for years and years, and we were very grateful to have them. So I'd urge any man or woman out there, pick up the phone, ring the COCs of these clubs, because they'll be more than happy to have an Irish competitor come, and they'll help you in every way they can. So that's my opinion on it, Kevin.
So for you, it's kind of almost like returning the favour as well for all the times that we had competitors coming over to us for our events. It might be kind of something along those lines. But the other side of it is, and I just seen today, the entry for, I can't think of what event it is off the top of my head, but Frank Kelly missed out on it. It was only open for 4 minutes.
That's the rally. That's the same rally. That's the rally in Argyle. That's the rally we're talking about.
In Argyle. That's crazy stuff.
4 minutes, filled out in 4 minutes. And look,
I'll tell you, the Graw lads have to go and do it though.
People are like,
you know what I mean?
Motorsport Ireland, they're now dictating to the clubs. It should be up to the club to set their own entry fee. In my opinion, Motorsport, when you pay for your permit, Kevin, you should be entitled to charge what you want for your entry fee. You would talk to any COC up and down the country, and they'll not be comfortable with Motorsport Ireland setting the fees. And that's my take on it, that they're setting the bar, and that's what it's going to be. And you're talking about 6 stages costing €900. I mean, holy God, it's gone completely out of touch. When an entry fee is no longer relevant to a man's week's wages, when he has to give a couple of weeks' wages to go do a rally with a man, or whatever to be, it's no longer feasible then, Kevin. And this is the problem for me,
Well, I just hope there is events this year. That was the whole purpose of setting up the podcast in the first place, was to do a magazine-type programme to give the results and give a bit of a preview. It's great that we can have the discussions, and I've really enjoyed them over the past year or whatever, to go back and look at different things. And obviously there's still a lot of stuff relevant, in terms of lads going overseas. And just this weekend, actually, we should give a shout out to Craig Breen, who went back over to the Target Florio rally, which wasn't an easy thing to do. Just missed out on the victory, and that took serious balls to go and do that. He
was very upset. Young Breen was very upset into the stage. Yeah, look at fair play to him. He finished second overall, very close to winning the rally. I'm sure
to go and do it in the first place was like, that took serious.
Sure, Jaffa was in his mind every step of the way out there.
Absolutely. And lads, just I want to pay a tribute to Johnny Hickey as well. Just a terrible tragedy, 37 years of age, an event organiser, of course, with Rally of the Lakes and the Killarney Historic Rally for a long number of years, and you two guys would have known Johnny quite well.
Oh yeah, sure. Would have competed, either a car in front of him or a car behind him or whatever the case may be, and a true club man, in fairness to him, the Killarney club, in fairness, he was really, really, really well in there. To be fair to him, and thought so much of it and everything else. And you can see, in every photograph that he's involved in, his head, neck, and heels in it is the handiest way of putting it. And sure, your heart would just go out to him. To be fair, the family and everything else is just so sad.
Yeah, massive loss to his wife and his kids and his family and the Killarney Water Club. I mean, you could just lift the phone to John. You could just lift the phone to young Hickey. And anything he could do for you, he would, wouldn't you, David? He was just so helpful. He put that program together down there every year, and I don't collect programs, but that's a program I do collect. He does a great job on it. It's just tragic. It's terrible to see such a young man lose his life. It's tragic. It's awful sad.
I would like to pass on our deepest sympathies here at the Irish Rally Podcast to the Hickey family as well. Absolutely. And
gotta be good to him.
I really hope, lads, as we said, we do have competitive action this year. We've caught up on a lot over the last hour, and whether it's on these shores or whether it's across the water, hopefully we do have something to talk about. And I wish you the very best luck, lads. That's all I can say. It's a pity we haven't got a rally today. It would have been lovely to have a rally today, but obviously every club up and down the country are kind of hoping the same. And we all would like to be out there, no doubt about it. But it was great to catch up and reflect on 2017 and Carlow Rally down through the years and different things as well. So I thank you for that, lads, and we'll chat to you again soon, all right?
And the best of luck, Evan, with the podcast and everything else going forward. And just from my own understanding, are you just going to do it from the way you're doing it now, or are you actually going to go out and, we'll say, for argument's sake, if the Carlow Stages Rally was on today, would you be out live yourself today?
Well, I suppose Killian is obviously doing that sort of stuff live, And fair enough.
And like that's just for the likes of your own home event, would you have?
Absolutely.
Like
I mean, the whole idea would have been, and perhaps we could have even done a preview thing kind of beforehand, and then a review thing after or something when at the prize given, something like that. But as a rule, every week, regardless of what event it is, if we could sit down even in this format here, because we mightn't get up and down the country too handy with everything that's going on, but we figured out little alternatives. We have this facility here where I can talk to you lads. Mick says his broadband isn't great up there, but he was able to wing 4G out with all the same. He's a cute whore, that fella. But long story short, we've learned a good bit from this COVID, from every point of view really, but certainly from trying to get a bit of content out there. So that would be the great hope, that when we do have events, that we'll do a bit of a preview coming up to every event, and then the following week we'll have our results kind of section or whatever. We'll chat to the likes of yourselves. We'll go down through all our class winners, and then obviously heading into the next weekend, obviously I'm conscious that a lot of weekends, one after the other, will have stuff. So we could even have 2 in a week. Who knows? But you know what? If we do, it'll be 2 more than what we had a few years ago. That's all I'll say.
You're doing great things, Kevin. Your podcast numbers speak for themselves. Very, very popular. You're doing great things. You're good at what you do. It's a pleasure to speak with you, and thanks for having me.
Well, lads, look, I'm not doing it.
Same as that, Kevin, and well done.
And honestly, I'm not doing it for me, lads. I'm doing it for the likes of you who didn't have a massive platform aside from, obviously we know Killian has done great work, and some of the local radio stations when the events are on are very good too, but I just feel at a national level you deserve a bit better. So that's the intention. It's not for Kevin Regan, it's for Irish Rallying, and that's literally the intention of it.
Kevin.
So thanks again, lads. We'll chat to you in a second. Just jump into the green room, and just a quick word for our sponsors again. It is all in association with FAC, the simply automatic choice for automation equipment for gates, doors, barriers and rising bollards, available from your security installer and electrician, distributed to the trade in Ireland North and South by National Automation, the one-stop distributor for automation equipment, door entry intercom systems, CCTV, intruder and fire alarms, access control and locks. And as you said, for more information you can visit nal.ie /products. Don't forget, of course, you can subscribe for free and follow us, of course, on Apple, Spotify and on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the 5 stars if you are an Apple Podcast listener. And you can get us there on social media as well. We are on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at the Irish Rally Pod. And that's it for now. We will have more great content coming your way over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us, and of course we will chat to you again very, very soon.